Hello, and welcome to The Fool and the Philosopher.
The Philosopher and the Fool.
I forgot what we were doing for a moment there. I was like, wait, what is this called? What are we doing right now?
Is it called The Fool and the Philosopher?
Something like that, yeah.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, we're doing a podcast.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah, you're the one who suggested the idea.
Yeah. But I totally forgot what it was called. Everything. Yeah.
Can you imagine just like you go into an interview, right? And like you're supposed to let's say you've like done something like published a book or like been a movie actor or something like that. You go into this interview and they just want to ask you a ton of questions about it, and you just forget what you've done or like what the interview is about. So you just sit down and like, oh, very nice to meet you. So tell me about this recent self-help book you published. My what now? Self-help book you published. You talked about this idea of how it's very important to be nice to other people. I did?
Yeah, hello and welcome to our TV show. We're fashion and you've invented some new weight loss technique. Can you tell us about it?
What?
Well, what about the business with the lawnmower? What are your thoughts there?
They cut grass.
No, but the specific one.
What specific lawnmower?
Ah, what a joker. You all remembered that time with the bats, right?
The bats?
And what's your opinion on the construction of coral reef dams anyways?
Coral reef? What? What's the coral reef dam?
You are Connor, right?
Yeah.
So, some elaborate practical joke? Or you did write the weight loss book?
No, I wrote no books about weight loss.
Alright, we're going to commercial.
Or just being the interviewer and asking them questions and making them they forgot?
Yeah.
Like you were doing?
It'd be very confusing.
Yeah, but also just and then somehow get the audience in on it.
It'd be very confusing for the interviewer if the person just said, what? I don't know what you're talking about. It'd be very hard to keep the conversation going.
Yeah.
Yeah, some people, they're just like dead. They're like walls to talk to. Like they're like, it's like you on like text or social media or anything. It's like, how's it going? Fine. Can you do this? Sure. What's your favorite movie? Yep.
Is that how I feel with texting?
That's what everyone thinks about your texting, yeah.
Really?
Oh yeah, like Calden sent me, this person sent me text of he said like a screen capture, and he's like, wow, your brother sure is like, you know, talkative. And he had sent like this like several paragraphs, and you said, okay. And then he sent several more, and you're like, yep. And then he sent several more, and you're like, yep. Thanks. Okay, and then Mom gets that all the time. She's like, yeah, sent Connor a message, got okay back.
I'm not very good at the talking with the texting.
No, you don't have to be.
I know, but like I think that's partly why people don't send me messages on Facebook. Like, don't hold text conversations or like messages
Not at all.
Conversations.
Just send like 2-letter replies constantly. I think it's your generation.
I don't think it is.
Like, I've texted other people in your generation, and they all give like super short replies. Yep. Okay.
Maybe we just really don't care about texting. We'd rather just talk physically.
Yeah, texting's for old people.
Kind of is.
The new thing kids do is talk to each other face to face, like freaks. All about human interaction and social behavior,
or it's even less than that. You could go another degradation down. It's just we just post things on forums. We're not even talking. We just like put down an idea on them.
Yeah.
Maybe people will reply to it, or maybe they'll just post.
I was thinking about like earlier today. Forums like Reddit and stuff, they're not really forums in a traditional sense. At least maybe there is subreddits that are.
Yeah.
But you propose an idea, and then people talk about it, and then after however long it gets shut down. It's not actually like everyone goes into the same room and starts talking. That'd be like a giant chat room. Mm-hmm. Instead, there's very specific posts. You can't, because I guess I can just share them here, because I have these opinions I want to share, and like get people to validate me and say, you're so smart and right. And I can't do it on Reddit because I don't know the place to do it. And also, I don't really know how to use Reddit.
Yeah, and I mean, it is Reddit as well.
I also don't like using forums. Like, there's people, if they have like a tech problem or something, they'll post on a forum. I figure, like, I don't know. I'm not that patient. I'm not waiting.
You just try to find the forum that
I just look for the people that were already broke down and asked the questions.
Yeah.
So
I will not ask a question. However, someone else might have. So I'll spend 2 hours researching, because it'll probably be faster than the reply I'll get in a week.
Yeah, exactly. Or
however, the reply in the week actually might be the solution.
The reply I hate that you can get on.
I didn't have that problem.
Oh, there's that one. That one is horrible. Like, I don't have this problem. That one is useless beyond. But the one that is helpful, the person trying to be helpful, it really annoys me.
Have you tried to write off and all again?
No, they say, what are your computer specs and everything? And I have never seen that effect answer, ever. It's always like, oh, have you tried, like, disabling this or, like, changing this registry
And
thing?
this is just for computers. Like, you ask forum questions about cars. Like, I've looked at forums of cars, and I was trying to figure out, like, what type of battery I need. It's like, all right, well, you could go with this one, or you could go with this one. It also depends on, like, what year your car is, which is kind of important, like, what thing is. And then they just, like, add all this extra information. And the person's like, thanks, but I just wanted, like, the battery names, nothing else.
Yeah.
Like the over-explainer, I guess.
Yeah.
And desperate to share my knowledge, I spent 4 years and $500,000 getting this degree, and I must use it. $500,000 4-year degree. Where are you getting educated?
The States is pretty expensive, surprised.
Really?
Not that much, but, well, actually, not for a 4-year degree. That'd be more like the 200,000.
Yeah.
But, that's like
But
half.
is it like maybe Harvard?
I think the States tends to be like 50 to 60,000 per year. Stuff
Really?
like that. Yeah, as
Wow.
I understand it. Which, if that's right, that's like 10 times higher than Australia,
Yeah. That's higher than Australia.
where we live.
Mm-hmm. With our Billy Bongs.
Yeah. Yeah, I just wore my thongs today, and they're nice. They were chafed a little bit, you know, what they do.
Yep. All right. Anyway.
Cameron's mid-rolls. All right, here they come. Oh boy, I'm excited. Me too. Okay, here we are. Connor's not around, so we can do whatever we want now. Okay, first mid-roll. You're listening to The Fool and the Philosopher. Just in case you didn't know. Seems pretty obvious. There you go. There's this Reddit called, it's called something like That Fixed It or something like that. Yeah. And it's full of posts, or thanks that fixed it, or something like that. And it's full of posts of people saying stuff like people aren't depressed, they're just only looking at negatives, or if you were thankful every day for 21 days, you'd be happy, or if, or it's not necessarily only depression on there. It'll have other things like...
Well, I think you're also looking at Reddit. Quora, or whatever it's called?
Quora?
Yeah, Quora is the actual, like, forums for questions.
Well, that's for answers.
Yeah.
But this isn't like that. This is just, I want a general discussion.
Yeah.
But but it doesn't work in that subreddit, because that subreddit is all about just upvoting and looking at pictures, where it's not actually about discussion. And I don't know if there is Reddits really, like, there's the ones where you ask a question. Yeah. But it's still a conversation between one person as the main person and everyone else is the secondary people.
I've looked at some Reddits where the secondary people, like, are...
They have a little conversation in the comments, but it's not a massive... Would be interesting is if you had like a web diagram. Yeah. If you had like a forum like that where you say something, it creates a point on a blank space, and you click on the point and it expands into what you said, and then you can reply to that and it'll create a line to it, and then someone else
copywriting this
could like reply to multiple... I don't know. I wouldn't want to try to implement it. It sounds like it would be a real...
We just want the royalties for someone else.
Oh, we just want to do copyright trolling.
Yeah. Or someone listens to this like, oh, got that idea from some obscure podcast, and I'm going to make this thing, and now I'm a millionaire. Yeah. I don't know how you'd be a millionaire for making forums like that. But...
Yeah, well, you get a lot of investors in social media stuff, and you never make it back.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
You pretend you'll make it back.
Actually, how would you monetize that in like a nice way? Because I don't like ads can be a real pain.
Well, ads
and they're not very effective.
And right to the screen, that's much money.
I think you could just make it a paid for service, like to join, and then
who would use it to pay for it?
They exist.
Yeah, but someone would clone it as a free version.
Yeah, but it would be like they would have it'd be higher quality. It'd be like, because you wouldn't have ads and stuff.
Or not just online dating sites.
Or you could have like
ad free and then make it horrible to use and go ahead free. I don't like that business model.
No, but what if you had like, there's other ways to launch your, like donations.
Yeah.
You could have
you could pay to start the chat call things, but then just talking to them.
You could do that thing that websites do that's really annoying, where every relevant word becomes a hyperlink to like a roughly related Amazon store page. And then I wouldn't no, I don't think so. But I want it to be like monetized within the bubble system somehow. Like, what I think would be a very decent, very honest, is you give personal information to use a service. Like,
Oh, instead of just taking it?
Yeah, like, I think the main thing with privacy violation, even if it's anonymized and everything, for me, is you're making money off of me after I paid you.
Yeah.
Or so, but on the other hand, if you, like, there's websites that'll pay you to take surveys.
Yeah.
They don't pay you much, but...
No, they don't pay you much at all. I tried using one of those, dear God.
And I think they randomize the pay or something as
Yeah,
well.
they randomize the pay.
So they can claim that you can get paid like reduced amounts.
They randomize the pay. If you don't answer the questions fast enough, other people can claim the survey, but they'll still gather your information. Like, that's some of their models.
Right. So all sorts of stuff.
Yeah.
But if you just said like, all right, for every time you log onto this page, or oh no, that could be a pain. Like this IP address will be good for the next hour if you answer a survey, something like that. And just like it would be like a little survey too. Like YouTube kind of does that with like its
survey questions. It's basically what those are for, though, is seeing the effectiveness of its ads to you and in general.
Yeah, but I would like, you know how they want like consumer habits and stuff.
Yeah.
Like just build this. But if it's anonymized, then maybe they can't target you with ads and they care about. I don't know, but it'd be kind of cool. And then you need almost to be like 3D so the lines didn't get too crisscrossed. But then it'd be really hard to navigate.
And it looked like a neural network.
What you could do, I guess, is have, if someone is talking back and forth to someone else, when you scroll out that, like the lines have a width, and so you could see like a thicker line as a conversation. So let's say I reply to someone and then they reply to me. It doesn't create a third bubble. Instead, the line thickens, and if you click on the line, then it expands into the third dimension as like a zigzag stack, and you can read the conversation that way. And then what you could also do, right? There is no forums on this entire website. Nothing is ever necroed or deleted. Instead, what happened is you could have like I don't know, like waypoints or something, and so you could scroll along and say like, oh hey, this section is talking about Doctor Who, and over here they're talking about depression cures, and you can actually, if you wanted, follow the link from each conversation all the way over to the other area. So it would be more like a map than
the conversations converge together, just sort of like zigzag and then clash, and then you can start talking from that conversation.
Yeah, and so that way you could actually have like a forum where everyone sits around and ideas bounce off of each other and ricochet and grow within the space itself. Because ideas,
heck of a thing to program.
Yeah, and your internet can be good.
It has to be normal.
I don't know, like the internet in like Canada, United States, Australia isn't that great, and I'm pretty sure that that's a fairly decent chunk of the world.
Yeah.
Like it's not even like most of it, but or even like
it's a decent
like the United States varies quite wildly, but Australia and Canada are famous for their bad internet.
Yeah, and Australia's apparently better than Canada's.
Yeah,
go figure.
Like so, I don't know. Like it would be, but it'd be quite an interesting like system. I don't know how the server space requirements, but if YouTube can manage somehow, then
YouTube doesn't make money.
Yeah, well. Yeah.
They are trying really hard.
I think also you could do it like a torrenting website, I guess. So you download part of the map. Like whatever parts of the map you interact with, anyone that touches your node, you also have downloaded on your computer. And then it could be a torrent site.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Torrenting's interesting if it wasn't so gross.
I don't think... What do you mean gross?
There's just rude torrenters that like download something onto your computer without your really knowledge it's torrentware or something. Like torrenting, I find, can be slightly dangerous. Like hosting part of a website, it has its risks.
I don't think it has to be.
I'm just saying that's like my perceived.
Yeah, well, you just have to look for something, because you can look for differences in the program between the computers. So you could have something that's like, wait, this program is totally different from that program. So obviously they changed. And there's also seeding, where you just say, hey, 10,000 people downloaded this, none of them had a virus, so it's good. Yeah. So you just have to not download a program that's like totally out there and never been done. And if it's something like BitChute, like you can't really hack someone's computer with a video. Yeah. Like, what are you going to do? So this one could build its own file format or something. Well, I guess the problem is if you find it. I don't really know much about computers, so I'm going to stop now. Promise me this. You'll never try to swim across the ocean, no matter how strong a swimmer you are. You'll never try to illuminate the stars, no matter how bright you shine. So when I was on this subreddit about like all these like, oh thanks, that fixed that depression, or it'll be like Prince EA said you're not actually depressed, and then it shows like a graph of depression level set to 0, or it'll be like get rid of all you have to do is do yoga and then you won't be depressed, or like lose weight. So it's all these like instant cures that people post to like Facebook a lot of the time, and so it's them going like, oh thanks, that fixed me, kind of in an ironic manner. But there's actually like a lot of
Slightly.
well, no, good advice. It's just straight up good advice, and people are like, for example, your problem is that you're not living in the present, and someone's like, oh, that fixed me, haha, because it cured my depression.
In the present.
Or like this is
I'll stop living in the past.
this is medicine, not this, and it'll show like nature versus pills, and it's like, oh yeah, got off my pills, I went into nature, and I'm cured of whatever. And to some extent, that's like, it's not wrong. It's
just they don't actually follow the advice, or it's not enough for them, or they don't think it's enough.
they're looking at the wrong things, I think.
Yeah.
Because I don't think the people giving the advice necessarily are looking at the right things either.
Yeah.
But if you say something like, get more sleep, or like,
Yeah.
that some people, that's impossible. And that's why they have all their issues, because they can't actually sleep. But maybe they can't sleep because of, I guess what I'm getting at is, if you think pills are the answer, then why not meditation being the answer, or
why not give
or
it a
changing
try?
your, or no, not that, no, not at all. No, it's more like, if you're going to trust an external operator to fix you, then why not trust an external operator such as meditation or a diet change or a lifestyle change as opposed to pills? Because all that you're doing, you have a chemical imbalance, and you can't just change a chemical imbalance by saying some words, but you can actually, the cause of depression isn't, or like, let's say the cause of your depression, whether or not the science supports this for now, tends to be or is chemical imbalance.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that taking a pill to rebalance the chemicals is the solution. It also doesn't mean it's not the Instead, it means that, like, it doesn't mean that you were born with a chemical imbalance. It could mean that you're eating something that causes chemical imbalance, or it could mean that a chemical imbalance caused you to not want to sleep, and so you spend all night like just up at night, and so that has caused a chemical imbalance, which causes you to not want to sleep and be depressed, which causes you to stay up even more. And it's so where things begin and end isn't clear if they even have one. There could be a million factors contributing, and there's not going to be like a be all and all here. So dismissing anything or everything is there's a lot of these people that now I'm gonna, like, this is the sort of thing that they'd put on there.
Yeah.
They want to stay sad. Now, see, that's, oh, whoops. Well, you're right. I wanted to stay sad. Now I don't, and I'm cured. Like, it's not like that, but if you revel in your, I sound like it.
Well, there's people who are saying they're reveling in their own self-misery.
Yeah.
That's true.
If you revel in your sadness or your depression, look, you're not going to be able to cure it just by thinking your way out of it, really.
Yeah.
But you're not going to cure it either
By doing nothing.
by going to the subreddit and spending all day there feeling justified about how depressed you are.
Yeah.
That's,
well, at the justification.
but the thing is, it can be cathartic just to have other people yell at people that don't understand you, because sometimes not being understood is such a, like, you can't get it out of you. It's so, you not being understood is like, it's like,
Yeah, well, there is an interesting thing
bad.
on that, though, which goes back to you can be weak or you can be strong, sort of.
Yeah.
Which is guy heard recently talking about, Jordan Peterson, we talked about him before.
Yeah.
He's saying they taught his daughter, who was like incredibly sick, like you have your body and your soul.
Yeah.
And your body is sick. Like that's just a fact. And you're going to have to live with that. So don't be the person who's sick all the time and always needing it because it's like, oh, I'm sick, I can't do anything, I'm sick, because you're sick.
Yeah.
That's the fact. You have to keep on living. If you're like, oh, I'm the person who's sick, then that makes your soul sick, and then both parts of you are sick, and then you're
Well, I
sick.
think that's why there's a useful distinction of body, mind, and soul, because depression is your mind being broken, basically, and
your mind being broken often breaks your body.
Eczema or something is your body being broken.
Yeah.
And your soul can be independent of those. If you put like a soul doesn't have to be a magical or religious concept. It can just be the person I am is independent of my mind and body, because my mind and body are constantly changing.
Yeah.
But I am a continuous force, and it could be an illusion, or it's hard to believe it's not an illusion. Continuous consciousness.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't really, but
enough on that.
Oh, no, I don't know. Like it's weird because like if time stopped and then started, you'd say, "Oh, I'm the same person," but you could also consider yourself cut in half temporally. Like, you can look at humans as, like, motionless four-dimensional objects. Like...
Oh, back to the four-dimensional objects.
Well, no, like, if time was the fourth dimension in this case. Imagine you're a five-dimensional being.
Yeah.
and like you see a human, and a human's basically a rock because you see their whole life, and like they never leave time, and or their 3 dimensions they move within. So they're they might look more like a tree because they come back along paths and stuff, and they just never move. And so you're like, it's like a 4-dimensional. Like if you live outside of time, then humans are quite stationary, right? And so if you take that like human tree looking structure and chop it down, and so you have the stump of when they were a baby, and then like the rest of it up there. Like you've done is did a splice in time that they'll never notice. And so
how do you know that hasn't happened?
And so yeah, exactly. And so do you have 2 people now, or do you have one person? Like
from my perspective, there'd just be one person, but who knows?
Or because you've cut the tree in half, and now like is the soul the continued essence of the tree? Or like, you know when you have a desk and it's made of wood of like 3 different trees, you have one desk. Do you have 3 trees, or is like when does a thing end and begin? Like a glass of water can also be.
Why can't be both though?
Yeah, but it's very fuzzy at the edges, isn't it? Like a glass of water is also ice from a mountain combined with a comet, and it's not just a glass of water. So you get this very weird like consciousness. Even if you broke it up into little pieces and said consciousness isn't real, the concept of something containing a unity could still be real.
Yeah.
Like you could say that a desk made out of the human tree, like each tiny little branch is like a person frozen in time. And well, except they're not frozen in time at all. They're completely motion in time. It's just time is one of the dimensions along this branch.
Yeah.
So you have this tree, and you turn it into a desk. So that person no longer exists because you can't trace any one bit back to that original person. But you could also still say that tree once existed or something.
Yeah.
But all the elements that made up of it are also attached to it. Like, it's very nebulous. Like, it gives it's really hard to give a fundamental to, like, humans are almost or life or any matter even is actually an abstract notion if you think about it, because the only concrete things, barely and maybe even not, would be like, you know, quarks or something. But like, or whatever even, what do you call those things, like the principal particle, the fundamental particles or whatever. That's the only actually concrete thing. Everything after that is just an abstraction. And that's kind of crazy, actually.
Well, there's that one idea I've had, which goes a little back towards the metaphysical instead of the physical, which is the only thing, like I'm not saying this is entirely my belief, but the only thing I can prove is I exist, maybe. Or the only, like I exist maybe. Like that's the only thing I can...
I don't think you can prove that.
Well, I'm thinking right now. I think.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't like you can't prove it, because if someone took the concept of your 4-dimensional existence and chopped it up into little pieces and scattered it everywhere, or dissolved each of your atoms into a
the only thing I'm aware of existing,
each of your atoms
truly,
was a part of a different nebula.
But the only thing that I'm aware of existing truly is my own consciousness.
Well, no, you don't even like you don't have to. That's more of a you're not aware of it. You're just because you don't even have any proof, right? Like
my proof is my thoughts.
But you don't even necessarily have the thoughts. The thoughts could just be an interaction of passing state. Like if you sliced up time into its smallest possible increments, if they exist, then you could say that all that consciousness is the transfer of a slice of time from one transfer of time to the next, and it's the continuous idea inhabiting that slice. So like you could have it would be the distance traveled from slice to slice is your conscious observing itself, or you could say that the system that holds your body together or your mind together and allows it to adapt and change is it's looking at itself. And if you get down to the smallest possible interpretation of that, suddenly you just have like little neurons firing and it's useless. And if you go up to the top, suddenly it's just a body like in one with the universe going like and that's kind of useless too. And so you basically have to exist in a lie for anything to function, almost like a rock doesn't exist. It's just a bunch of particles held together with energy. Like, so it doesn't really exist. It's just a lie. Like it's like an abstract interpretation of the universe through an abstract interpretation with eyes and like other sense that were just designed to interpret something that isn't even concrete. Like if it's very hard. That's why I think the soul is a useful concept, because there is no like really useful concrete information at that level. So you might as well like use the concept of a soul almost. Like you can make whatever you want to some extent, because it's all kind of imaginary anyway.
Who are you? Who are you? It's the universe playing hide and seek. Whoever said that.
It was Alan Watts.
Yeah, hell no.
Yeah. And
who's that? Of course.
there was this idea, was it like this insane guy or something was saying how, it was like some cult or something, I can't remember. But this guy was saying that the universe is the intersection of 5-dimensional, like, entities or something, and like this sort of thing. And just recently, a physicist has come up with a resolution to the string theory versus particle theory, like debate, which would be essentially that the universe is a bubble between two 5-dimensional real universes, essentially.
Colliding?
No, it's just like their intersection. Like when two soap bubbles connect, there's like that thicker area.
Yeah.
That thicker area would be our universe, basically, because of the interaction of the two, like, five. So the crazy cultist might have had something going for him.
So, for string theory versus particle theory to work for this one physicist, he's saying that there has to be two 5-dimensional universes.
Not exactly. It's an alternative to both. But it also kind of because string theory just hasn't worked. Like, it's a really neat idea, but it just hasn't worked.
And particle theory is a really neat idea, but
because string theory, now I don't really know, but I'm just going to say my best knowledge of it is possible.
All right.
And it makes a lot of sense. Like, it feels like it would really make a lot of sense. It's basically, the universe is made of a bunch of 11-dimensional strings that are vibrating, and the interaction of the vibrations creates the entire universe. So, for example, these two strings here vibrating, you get an interaction of that, and suddenly it creates like a graviton or something, and then that bounces off. Well, it wouldn't be even like a graviton yet. It would create like this 6-dimensional resonance that bounces off another one, and their intersections created like something that bounces off, and you get a graviton here and there, and all these things bounce off, and then you get this energy, and there's gravity appears, and it like swirls around, and wham, collides, and then it's just like, it's like if you start with the axiom in math of like I think math has like 4 or 5 fundamental axioms, which are like adding stuff together, like A plus equals B plus A, and I don't know, but you can if you start with those, then you can basically get the whole of mathematics. And then calculus is like the universe as we know it, in that it's like, you just started with some very simple rules, like 3 or 4 or 11 or who knows. And you have created this, and then you've, like, just as a consequence of these rules, you can keep working with them and tinkering, and all of a sudden you get the entire universe.
Yeah. I guess so, as far as I understand that.
So do you, like, if you start with like A plus B equals B plus A, it would follow then that if you remove B, you remove B from the other side, so you get subtraction. Then you have A plus A is equals A plus A plus A.
Yeah.
Actually, that might be, which is a substitute for B, which means that if you represent that as multiplying, like
multiplication.
4 A's equals 4A.
Yeah.
So you could, A equals 4A. So then you could say, well, then 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2, I could just represent 2 times self 4 times, or 2 added to itself, 4 times. So we'll call that 2 times 4, and then we can add them all together, we get 8. And so you've created that, and then from there you can create exponentials, and then from there you can create...
Sounds like your thing, though, is more subtractive than additive, with the greater dimensional objects turning to lower dimensional.
Well, and that's not what matters. I'm not like, okay, so I'll keep going then. From there you can...
Well, I'm just saying it sounds like that, but I mean, if it doesn't matter...
But that's not my point. Because I'm just giving addition rules as one example. From there you could also develop like Newton's method for determining what the answer to a square root is. You could also from there determine...
So you're saying more things get determined from the basics or the beginning.
I'm saying that given a very basic set of rules, you can extrapolate infinite information and keep going. You can prime numbers suddenly exist. And prime numbers are gravity in this case or something.
Yeah.
So you're getting... So you can start with like 2 or 3 really basic rules, like whenever these resonances here, the universe creates, creates this concept of gravity, and all of a sudden, once you have gravity and electromagnetism, that's all you need for everything else to follow. Then
it's like pocket gods. Putting everything together.
A Doodle God.
Yeah,
Doodle God. Where you add stuff. Yeah, so you start with 4 elements in that game, and you combine them together, like fire and water creates like steam, and earth and water creates life. Steam and life create like an air elemental or something.
Yeah.
And that's basically what I'm getting at in a way, is just with some very basic principles, the entire universe can follow. But any attempt to measure it as from like a higher resolution kind of doesn't quite work. Like if you say that prime numbers are a mathematical idea, they're more of a whole, because they're just they're a pattern almost that there's not even a pattern to them, but they're a concept we've seen, which isn't the same as saying that they aren't an axiom. Yeah. So you can't like look at in the book I'm reading right now, there's this really interesting quote where he says, point at a piece of paper. Now point at its color. So you'd be like, so say like, this is a piece of paper.
Yeah.
So do it. So point to that. So I say, point at a piece of paper, and you say, this is a piece of paper.
This is a piece of paper.
Now point at its color.
Pink.
Now point at its number. And you could say like...
above 1.
Yeah. Now point at its shape.
Square.
You have to point. You gotta point. All right.
Square.
Okay. So point at its color.
Pink.
Point at its number.
Several.
Right. So you kept pointing at the same thing over and over again.
Yeah.
But you were pointing at different things each time.
Yeah.
Which is all based on your like level of abstraction in a way. Which I think is kind of cool.
Okay.
What's even supposed to go here in these things? Like, what's Connor's goal? I don't really understand. But yeah, so I think that the soul can just be useful to say the connection from me throughout time, even if my past self and future self are very different. I think they're like, I will say that I am a continuous being because it's a useful concept. And that continuous being, regardless of injury, mental or physical, is still me. And that's why, I guess that's kind of what bothers me with it, is that these people have a mental injury, essentially, mental illness.
Yeah.
And they're treating it as, well, that's the thing, like, it's like you have a cold, you aren't a cold. So you have depression, you aren't depressed.
Yeah.
Which, and actually some of them do say that in there.
Yeah.
It's just more this idea of, it seems a very negative, like, I think the idea of the sub is very positive.
Yeah.
Or whatever it's called, the Reddit is very positive, because it's this concept of, like,
there's a sub.
I don't want to be alone, and there's all these, like, things that can make me laugh at these. But I think if you spend too much time there, then you've turned into something negative, because you're just saying, like, you're denying any cure. Like, you mentioned Jordan Peterson. His daughter wrote this message that she posted where a friend wasn't getting her depression, and she wrote, look, I'm depressed. There's nothing I can do. It's not about changing my sleep. It's not about changing my eating. It's not about changing my exercise. I'm depressed, and that's that. And then she actually got rid of her depression by changing her diet, which is quite funny, because then she like posted the thing. She's like, well, I guess I wasn't completely correct in this circumstance.
Yeah.
So
it's just when someone says like, I have this problem.
Yeah.
And you, as an outsider who does not have that problem, recommends a solution. The solution might not work. That's a given.
Yeah.
But it might work. Okay, it might work. Like, there's a chance it will work. But you know nothing about what's happening. This is from their perspective. You know nothing of what they're going through. So how could something like this fix it? Because nothing has worked. Why would this work? Why do you have to listen? You haven't experienced this thing. Like, it's my unique case. Why did this work? And a lot of the time when you have the pain or whatever, you're going through it, then you said you sort of become that thing. And then it's like, why would that work? And actually a huge risk of becoming that thing is when it becomes your identity is, I have depression, I am depression.
Yeah, and then
you don't want to get rid of it.
You can't escape it.
Yeah.
I think another...
Or it's not that you don't want to get rid of it, it's you can't get rid of it.
Yeah, because you can't get rid of yourself.
Yeah.
Well, you can get rid of yourself, and that's why depression's suicide.
Yeah.
Because that's the only way out, is to get rid of yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And... which actually, that's basically it, straight. But yeah, there's like these solutions that they're given, like just smile more or something. Like here's the thing, right? Okay, I'm gonna teach you. Put that down. All right, I'm gonna teach you how to pick up a nail. Okay. Okay, reach out your hand and pick up that nail.
Okay.
Okay, now drop it. All right, now I'm not gonna teach you how to pick up that sticky note. Okay, I'm not gonna tell you what to do.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna see if you can do it anyways. Okay, can you do it?
Probably.
Okay, you did it. You did it, even though I only taught you how to pick up a nail.
Yeah.
So what happened there is I gave you an abstract concept of picking something up. I didn't actually tell you how to pick up a nail. And so when someone says change your diet, they're not actually giving you something that'll work. You have to take the change your diet and use it in you have to take it from the abstract and use it in a specific that actually works.
Yeah.
And it might not work even, like, if, like, there would have been a glowing hot piece of metal on the desk, you couldn't have picked it up, even though you had the knowledge of picking things up.
Yeah.
I would have had to teach you fire, like, how to hold things. I would have had to teach you the technique of holding things that are molten.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you could extract that. It wouldn't just be metal. You could pick up glass, and you could pick up...
Yeah.
So I think a lot of these things are actually giving abstracts. Like, to say, a lot of people on the one that really got, that I really noticed was the one that said, you're not living in the present. And a lot of people are saying, that's the only time you can live in, or the present sucks, why would I want to live there? But what they're actually talking about is mindfulness meditation. And that is actually one of the most effective and common techniques for treating depression is mindfulness. Where you, what's it called? Mindfulness, or like conscious...
Where is that where you're basically like being aware of everything that's actually going on?
I think you just become like objective. Like, this is the thing, right? Wow, this is what I'm reading. It's got like, it's very obvious, but it's quite interesting. Like if I have a knife, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, meh, and I'm stabbing towards you with it.
Yeah.
You could be scared, right?
Yeah.
Because like, man, that's danger. I'm stabbing you with danger. But the thing is, it's actually, if you look at it objectively, there is a being in front of you. There is a knife.
Yeah.
That there is nothing. That's it.
Yeah.
Danger doesn't exist. Danger is an abstract concept.
Yeah.
And actually,
it can stop you from getting stabbed, but...
Yeah, so it's useful. The abstract is very useful.
Yeah.
But a depression, the world, doom, something's bad happening, I'm anxious, anxiety, I'm anxious. And it's like, okay, look at the world. You're sitting in a chair in a room.
Yeah.
That's it. That's it. Like, I feel constant, like, feeling of, like, mild...
Not doing enough?
No, like, anxiety, like, I wanted to say impending doom, but that sounds too extreme. It's more like, I feel like something's going to go wrong and I have to figure out what it is.
Yeah, instead of it being a dagger hanging above your head, it's a pebble.
And it's more like, I feel like the moment I don't have everything planned out, and I hate planning, so it's more like, the moment I take a break, and like, if I relax, then something will get me. And so... It's like if you're walking through like a field where there might be a tiger, you're kind of on alert. Yeah. Or if you're walking through a field where might be a tiger, but it's incredibly low chance, then you're on only like a mild alert, but I'm on it all the time. And so if I just stop and I'm like, okay, I have no responsibilities coming up. Like there's nothing I need to get done that can't wait. When it comes up, at the time, I will be able to do it. I don't need to pre-worry anything. You never need to pre-worry anything. Yeah. Like, ever. Like, if something difficult's coming up, you need to prepare for it. Then either you are preparing for it at the moment, or you don't have to think about it. Yeah. And while you're preparing for it, like, that's all you know how to prepare for it, because if you think you have the ability to worry about something, then you have the ability to prepare for it and don't need to worry about it. And if you don't have the ability to prepare for something, then you don't need to worry, because you shouldn't be bothering with it, because it's impossible.
That's why Boy Scouts are never worried about anything, because they're prepared.
Yeah, except the thing is, when you're worried, it actually means that you are prepared. Because if you're worried, that means you think you have a chance to solve it. Right? Like, because if you can't do it, like, if I'm not worried about not being able to run through that wall. Yeah. I just can't. But I might be worried about my ability to stand up and open the door.
Well, then, that is a worry here. Like about being worried about not being able to stand up and open the door.
I could be like, I'm not saying that's a thing. It's more like, because anxiety is far more general. But so mindfulness meditation, or mindfulness, is just basically like, take an assessment of everything. The other thing, there's this thing they recommend you do is like, every time you think of it, like with depression or something, you just imagine you're looking at the scene of, or like, this is for bad memories as well. Let's say a really bad memory of like being bullied or something. Yeah.
Being bullied by Two-Ton Sally. She's just sitting on you. Nothing you can do.
So she's sitting, so here's this, you keep remembering like, oh, the heat and it was hot, and Two-Ton Sally was sitting on me and it was awful and I was crying and,
just dripping
and
down.
The pain and like there's weird like pink fabric stuffed up your nose and like it's awful. What you do is you remember that situation, but you know what? There was like a light over there, like in the school, and out the window there's a bit of blue sky. Just like take the camera of the memory, move it to the side a little bit, just like, oh, look over there, and you suddenly take the power away from the memory. And so it doesn't last very long. It lasts for like a millisecond. This sort of relief, but it does work for a lot of people. Yeah. If done in proper, I might not be saying the best way to do it or whatever, but just mindfulness, being aware of where you are in the moment.
Any advice given must be taken with a grain of salt.
Like right now, at this moment, I am safe. There could be a bullet flying towards me through that window, but at this moment, before it crashes through the window, even if it's just about to hit the window, I am safe. And so you do a mindfulness meditation, you're like, I am safe. Or that's basically what it is feeling of safety. And it shuts down that section of your brain for just a second. And if you just do that every time you think about it throughout the day, it can actually be beneficial. That's living in the present, because you're not worrying about this future you can't change the future.
Yeah.
Like
You can only
change the present.
You can't even change the present. You can affect the present.
Yeah. Like, well, I think you could say you could change the present. Your actions, like...
No, because the present hasn't. It's happening. You can't change it. It's happening. You're affecting it. Because change is something's in one state and it's going to another.
Yeah.
Whereas affecting is...
Yeah, okay, so you can't...
more steering the car. It's not changing it. Oh, no, it's hard.
Like, when you change the direction your car is pointing, though, you're not changing where it's pointing in the future. You're just... Each step is a moment along the way, if you slice it fine enough. So, that's the... Yeah, I don't know. I guess, affecting might make sense. But yeah, you can only change the present, kind of snappy.
You can only affect the present.
Yeah. And yeah, so you can't, because you can't change the future, though, that's for sure.
Yeah, and you can't change the past.
Like, the idea
but
of...
you can rewrite the past.
The idea of life not being fair, it's kind of related. Like, that's the thing about depression. It's really not fair, man. Like, some people just go through life, come on. That's so lucky. Well, it's not lucky. It's like unlucky to have depression or something, right? Like that's the thing. Like concepts of luck and privilege and all these things. They're so backwards.
It's all how you spent your points at the beginning of the game.
It's like you shouldn't. Well, no, there's no shouldn't. It's just if someone like has more food and money and wealth and health and everything, I don't think they should be considered privileged or lucky. I think that everyone else should be considered, I don't know, like underprivileged sounds like they deserve to have it, which they don't necessarily do. But it's
just they don't have it, those filthy peasants.
Or they can be unlucky. No, it's just that I don't think you should consider a good life to be a product of luck, because then you'll never have one. Because then you're relying on luck. And that makes the world a pretty miserable place. But the thing is, so the world's not fair. But with the baseline of the world being unfair, that means that your life is kind of... Well, this is a jump in logic.
Do go on.
Well, it's just that your life is miserable. It's unbearable.
And isn't...
And that means that... and it should be unbearable, because otherwise...
It sucks. It should be unbearable. No. Think about your life. Every moment up until now has just been miserable. That's just life.
It should be unbearable, or you would have no goals. Like, if you're sitting there and you're thirsty, your life is unbearable, and you will do what you can to change it. Which means, because if it's bearable, you will sit there and die of thirst.
Yeah, exactly. Life's miserable. Life is just straight up suffering.
No, it's not miserable. It's unbearable.
Fine. Life's suffering. It's unbearable. It's unbearable suffering.
Yeah, and that's why you keep changing. Because life is unbearable suffering, which forces you to change.
Yeah, because life's unfair.
Yeah. And see, it's a bit of a jump of logic to say life's unfair to life's unbearable. But it is unbearable. Otherwise, you die. Life is by definition unbearable. Because if it was bearable, then you'd be content and you'd die.
Yeah. And therefore, Buddha is right, even though you don't like his religion. Ha!
Where Buddha says life is suffering?
Yeah.
I guess, but his religion was also the path to out of suffering. So, I don't know.
Well,
Eightfold path. Push, desire nothing. Do that more times. 8th step, die.
Really?
No, but that's my modified eightfold path to avoid suffering. Because your life should be unbearable, or you're not living.
But you should manage the unbearableness so it doesn't kill you as well.
Life is unbearable. Well, you should work towards making it less unbearable.
Yeah.
You should work to reduce your suffering. Because then you're actually saying that your life is bearable. If you're not working towards something, you're actually...
So you should work towards death, because when your life's bearable, you're dead. So work towards death.
No, you don't. No, that's the opposite, because then you're making your life bearable. See, you want to...
So make your life unbearable.
No, because you can't make your life unbearable, because that's unbearable.
No, so I'm saying make your life...
If you make your life bearable, that means that you've given up. Because if you say that this is fine, then your life is bearable.
I'm confused, but I don't need explanation, okay? You don't need to explain anything. You don't go, no, see, look, it's like this. I'm good. I've accepted that I'm confused. I can bear that I'm confused.
No, but you shouldn't.
Even if it's unbearable to you, it's bearable to me.
But since it's unbearable, I'm going to try to change it anyways. Because...
But you don't have to.
Then it's not unbearable. So I have to.
Right.
Like, humans are very limited, actually, if you think about, like, our free will. like even if you consider we have free will and like every decision we make and everything, it's incredibly limited because there's this concept called acrasia, which the ancient Greeks came up with, which is you will never do something that is, given all the information you have, you will never do the less optimal option. Ever.
Yeah, that's what you're saying.
Well, even then, I think you'll take the option that you consider to be the best at the moment. And so you're only ever doing the thing that you consider the best. So I think I don't even think you can control your body, your words, your thoughts, anything of that. I think the only thing you can control is you're like this backseat passenger in this massive program inside a robot that's running. And all you can do is look at the stuff the robot's done, and you can go, I'm going to change the code because that didn't work the way I wanted it to. So you change the code, and then like next time that situation arises, the robot reacts differently. Basically, because if you think about like reflexes, they happen faster than thought. If you think about words that you speak or when you're talking, it happens faster than thought.
No, words happen about the speed of thought.
No, they happen faster. There's
shouldn't.
There's this study that was done. They got people to
anything worth saying. It's a very long time to say.
There was a study that was done. Where they found that when people make decisions, they don't actually think about them before the decision, they think about it after. So what you do basically is you make a decision and then afterwards you justify it to yourself. That's what the study said. I imagine it's more like you make a decision and then you decide if you agree with the choice you made or not, and then you change the robot you're piloting or not based on that decision.
Okay, cool.
So the
just texted. In speech. Text-to-speech.
Yeah.
I do these mid-rolls to let people know that there's been a change in subject, and also because it's fun and it gives me an excuse to add music.
Because the thing I want to do is just like say on that Reddit, like a lot of these things are good. Like I want a meta post, basically, like
a meta post that people actually get.
Like a meta post, like a post about the Reddit itself that states like you're being really negative. There's a lot of positive stuff in here.
Make a meta Reddit.
Let's discuss it. There might be some, but I don't think they would. You're not going to get the people from that thing specifically. But the other one I want like a meta Reddit for or something is raised by a narcissist, because that place is full of narcissists.
Is it?
Like,
well, I mean, you are what you are raised by, right? There's
like
a little bit of correction.
Like it's this weird cult-like thing where every time someone's parents do something they don't like, they say that my parents are narcissists doing this thing. And they also, many of them act like, look, having a narcissist parent is awful, horrible. And some of the stories in there are horrific.
Yeah.
But a lot of the stuff in there, like the one thing that really sticks in mind is this guy was desperate and asking for help. He's like, I think my parents are narcissistic and I do this. I was very depressed. I read this book that helped me out a bit, and like, but it's just awful. I don't know what to do. And the moderator of the place said, we don't allow that book getting talked about here, and so you're going to be banned unless you edit your posts and like you're filthy like whatever person. And then I said to the moderator, like, person's asking for help, and don't you want to help them? And I don't think the book would be that bad. Like, people can take, just because someone read a book doesn't mean that they agree with the book, even if the book is bad. Like, a lot of historians read Mein Kampf, for example. It doesn't mean they all agree with Hitler. Like, no one agrees with Hitler. Like, no one at all. Not even Hitler, probably, because he was a little insane.
Yeah.
And
even Hitler doesn't agree with Hitler.
Yeah.
In his moments of lucidity, probably it's like, what am I doing?
I don't know if that's so much, but he would probably change his mind about how to resolve on things. Like, he was a little sporadic. Like, he's like, attack on this friend, do this, do this. Like, nobody, or even just his baseline philosophies are, like, nobody, they're crazy.
Yeah.
So anyways, this person said that to me, and then the person sent me a post, like, privately, and they said, they said,
moderator
like,
sent you this?
yeah, they said, looks like you've never posted on this subreddit before, and you seem to be doing a good intent, but we have these rules, and this person, filthy person from whatever place, and this sort of thing, and someone trolling who say what, and saying, like, you're doing whatever wrong, and they give off a very narcissistic vibe, that whole subreddit. It seems like this horrible mess of people talking to each other, and feeding off of each other's
misery or
no, like it's like when you you amplify something that isn't even there. You're sort of like reinforcing people's beliefs that don't even exist. Like you could say like for example, let's say there's this subreddit for like, I think my parents are going to kill me.
Yeah.
And so you're like, my father was really angry with me today. Or no, my father, sorry, not even that. You say, my father said I couldn't have dinner. It's like, well, that's not a very good thing to do. Like, that's kind of mean. And it's like, yeah, I guess it is sort of mean. Yeah, but, and the other person's like, yeah, my mother spanked me because I did this. And it's like, and then you reply, yeah, well, that's pretty harsh. Like corporal punishment, that shouldn't be allowed. And it's like, yeah, it's like that person's father that did this. Yeah, and he's, this could be dangerous. Like, first they don't give you food, and then they're trying to starve, and it's like latent, like wanting to beat you, and it's like, and you just like feed off of each other because you don't see an outside like. Maybe the mother did it because of something else, or maybe, and you get this warped. I do think there's a lot of legitimate cases in there as well, and I also think. What
was the banned book?
Well, first of all, the just.
I think I need to done it. Lie down.
Right. Yeah. I don't quite recall, but I think narcissism, if I recall correctly, is a very inheritable trait. Basically, like, narcissistic people tend to have narcissistic children because of how they're raised and how they're...
I mean, only narcissist.
Well, that one... No, I don't think so much. It's... Well, there's
no one worthy of your love but yourself.
That's not how narcissism works. There's different kinds of narcissism. So there's a narcissism where you want everyone to be responsible. So that's, like, where you sort of... you feel like everyone should take care of you. And then there's a narcissism where you feel like you have to take care of everyone. And then there's narcissism where you kind of switch back and forth. And so what happens a lot of the time... Well, on these narcissism posts, you'll see, like, my dad and I hate, like, my mom, but she's, like, narcissist, we can't do anything, and my dad's too afraid to say anything to her. Like, the dad's part of a problem. He's enabling her in that situation, right? And so what you'll have is people that want to take care of someone will get together with someone who desperately needs to be taken care of. And neither of them will feel fulfilled because one of them's dealing with a pathetic sniveler and the other person's dealing with an overbearing, like, tyrant.
Yeah.
And neither of them are even getting fulfilled along their own thing because you're trying to fill this void in yourself that you can't fill through that means. You have to actually just be with yourself instead. And... that tends to lead to children where I wonder if it'd lead to even opposite children all the time. Like if you're an overbearing sort, your children might come to rely on you, or if you're like your children have to take care of you, then they might become like I need to protect everyone.
Or they might go the path of reactionary child, which is.
So here's an example in that case where like your parent says like the narcissist, they always need to be taken care of.
Yeah.
And so. You feel like, oh, my parent might be a narcissistic parent. So you go into Raised by a Narcissist. And you're like, oh, I don't know. It's just like, sometimes like this. And then you say like, they asked me to take in the groceries today. It's like, they're always getting you to do stuff. And it's like, it can sort of build.
Barking at your own shadow.
Like, if you look for something, it's like the availability heuristic. Yeah. If you look for something, you'll find it. Like,
sorry, not jumping at your own shadow.
You'll remember every single time someone asks you to do something, and you'll forget all the other times. So you can create the situations yourself.
Yeah.
And also, there's also like people who knows that. Yeah. I don't know, and I think that like it could be beneficial. I just want a place where you could talk about like the in my bubble, in my web diagram. I almost wonder if you could have like a secondary kind of bubble, but this would get really busy. But where you like circle a grouping of bubbles and then comment on all of them. I'm not sure how you do that. Color coding, and then what you just have like a purple. So let's say this is like the purplish section because it contains like 10% of the words is narcissist. That means that they're all colored purple.
Yeah.
So
that'd have to be algorithmically based.
Yeah, and I think it'd be fairly straightforward though.
Yeah.
Because there's already stuff kind of like that anyways. Like that's how search engines work basically.
Yeah.
So you have so you'd have it like kind of purplish, and then you would have a purple line just come out of, I don't know where it'd come out of. Maybe you could have like meta layers. So you could go down to see the conversation threads and up to see the meta layers. So you'd see like this purple lines coming into the, like above the clouds, and then these new meta conversations start. And then navigating this place would be like, because the meta layers could spawn their own conversations that would belong in the layer below. And would you then have them dip back down, or would they just stay in this new meta layer? And then you'd be like, oh man, we had the greatest conversation in meta layer 76 in like the purple section, like it's deep.
Yeah, I'll leave someone else to figure out how to make this system.
Yeah, I don't even know if there's benefit, but I do feel like it just seems...
Just the connection of it, and also being able to, like...
This is my thing, though. I was saying that big websites are gone. It's going to be BitTorrenting thing, right?
Yeah.
So this is going to be like the... But how... But who's going to make it? Because if one person makes it, then it's still the big website. Well, I don't think big companies are ever going to go away.
Yeah.
Like, it'll be a different big company. But
yeah,
the internet's going to... That's the internet. It's going to turn into the bubble...
Sure. All right.
Servers.
Well, yes.
Now.
Yes.
That are all torrented to your computer.
What was the book?
Oh, the book?
Yeah.
Curious
what sort of book they would ban in their regime of the narcissist.
Yeah, well, I don't want to... I don't know. I haven't been there I haven't looked at it in a while, so I just got this vibe off of it, and maybe it's... And the way... It just seems like that, but... Maybe I'm looking into seeing things as well, right? Like, I started getting this feeling about it. But yeah, I think the book was called The Red Pill. I don't know what it's about. I haven't read it. I think from context, it seems to be about something like a dating book or something. I'm not sure. I think the idea, it's something... I don't know. I don't... Right. But I thought that it didn't matter.
Yeah.
I think...
I'm just curious why they thought it matters more than anything else.
Well, I think the book is supposed to have, like, really reinforce gender stereotypes or something. But I could be doing the book a complete disservice.
Yeah.
Or it could be a lot worse. And
you don't want to spread misinformation.
Yeah, so I'll just... I don't really know anything about the book. But I thought it didn't matter. Like, if the person said, I'm really depressed and I've been reading Mein Kampf and it made me feel a lot better... I don't think banning them from that place is the way to help them.
No.
At the very least, like, or if you, like, think that Mein Kampf is, like, going to ruin them, and I mean, that is kind of a scary statement to hear in some ways, you help them and so that they don't need to rely on this book. That like, because what happens?
Well, if you ban them, then they get more justification.
Your world doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
You're in chaos, and all of a sudden you read this book that gives you answers to everything.
Yeah.
And it says, like, Jews are bad, and we should the strongest race should rule, and we should conquer Russia or something. And you read this and you think like, oh, the world makes sense now. Okay, I have like purpose. But instead, what you should do is, you're trying to take this out of context, aren't you? You're writing down the timestamp. That could... No, don't do that. No. But when you take this and it's suddenly like your world makes sense again. But instead, if someone gives you a different way to resolve your chaos of your life, they're like, look, your life's in chaos because you're not taking care of yourself and you think others are responsible for your emotion. Then you're like, oh, it's not the Jews' fault. It's my fault for thinking people can affect me. And also, oh, wait a minute. Every person that annoyed me isn't a Jew. What was I thinking? That's crazy. Like, let's go. Like,
yeah, and you can sort of actually, like, those people can help you instead of saying, go away, you're not welcome here. It's like, you have problems, and this is the one solution you saw. However, maybe...
The Jews are a very interesting people. Like, throughout history, they've been the target of a lot of hatred. And I think the reason for it
is because they're strong.
Well, it's because they have this very strong emphasis on their children. Yeah. Like, they basically raise their children until they're 40. Like, until their children are 40.
Yeah, but
and
also...
they push them insanely hard to do really well. And so Jews tend to be doctors, politicians, like, really high-ups in society, quite wealthy. And
they're also strong, not weak though. They don't. A lot of times
their culture
the victim. They won't let themselves be the victim. It's like, no, we are not the victim here.
Well,
I mean they are, but they're saying we will not be treated like victims.
Yeah, I think
that's very. We will not be treated like victims.
If anyone in history could claim to be victims,
yes, but their culture is we will not be treated like victims.
Yeah, so they tend to be quite successful and quite rich and wealthy, and the thing is, like I was saying earlier, where you call people privileged or luckier, it's very easy to be resentful of people that didn't have the problems you did.
Yeah.
Like, from my perspective, I'm like, think of all the stuff I could have done if I hadn't had to deal with this depression and my school messed up. I could be living my life right now and, like, doing stuff and, like, making money, and I'd be happy and successful, like, doing all this stuff. and so I could be resentful of people like, you never had to go through my struggles, and look at you, you're successful, you're like only 19 and you're a top musician and you're faded. I'm so good at music and like, and like, you know, but I could be resentful.
Yeah, you could be hypothetically.
Hypothetically,
you
I could be resentful of Alan Walker, the little
Hypothetically, I could be resentful of a whole load of people, all younger than me.
Those filthy youngsters thinking they didn't deal with the pressure, the darkness. Actually, here Alan Walker has like incredible anxiety or something. Was that it? I can't remember. Maybe not. Maybe I'm spreading misinformation.
Yeah.
I heard. There's a singer that everyone keeps thinking he's gay, and he hates it so much because he's actually quite young, and it's like, you know, when you're young, like he's like your age, I think, and like when someone like tries to determine your identity for you, and you're not yet confident in your own identity, it like you're like damaging his conception of himself.
Not my life, Mom. Jeez.
Well,
leave me alone.
It's worse than that. Like it can be quite devastating. And but yeah, so I don't really want to spread Alan Walker's anxiety thing if that's not true in the slightest.
Alan Watt has anxiety.
Alan Walker, yeah.
Alan Watts had anxiety.
Yeah.
No, I don't think so.
Not near the end of his life, anyways.
Nope.
No, that man was special. So where's it going with it? So you're resentful
until he's 30. He
right.
was special.
So you're like it's quite easy to be resentful of people that are rich and powerful and lucky. It seems lucky from the outside. And all this sort of stuff. So that's why I don't think those words are useful, because they breed resentment. That's how you get like communism. Like you have like, I'm resentful of the upper class. That's bad. Yeah, communism is pretty bad, because you're resentful of the upper class and all this sort of like... And Jews tend to make up the upper class, like very often they do. And that's what happened, like Hitler, he was constantly downtrodden by Jews. Yeah. And it's not necessarily the Jews, it's just upper class. Yeah. Like, I think almost every, what would you call it? Like, group issue, like, where one group has disagreements with another. Yeah. Like, you could call it, like racial stuff, or, like, hating the Jews, for example. Yeah. Or, like even sexism, things like that, and all this sort of stuff. It's not actually sexism or racism or religion or like all the. It's class. It's just it's always been class. It's very classy. It's always been like a class issue. It's just groups tend to amalgamate into the classes. So you'll get, because depending on where you are in the world, for one thing, I think it's just you're going to have higher concentration, different kinds of. But the other thing is, if you have two groups, random groups of people, like you take all your friends and divide them into two random groups entirely. Yeah. One group is going to have more green-eyed people than the other group. And one group's going to have a higher average income than the other group. Yeah. Just because that's what's going to happen. Yep. And so what you can then say is, green-eyed people have higher incomes, green-eyed people are lucky in life, stupid green-eyed people should give me their money. And,
or green-eyed people have lower income.
Yeah, although really the green-eyed people should be the ones that want the money because they're envious. Oh. Yeah. Good job. Yeah. And so you're going to like resent them, and because we're good at finding patterns. People really good at finding patterns. Yeah. And patterns like that's like the stars, right? There's constellations. If the stars were like what you would almost assume if everything was completely even, is the stars would form a grid. Yeah. But randomness, like if you roll a die 6 times, you're not going to get a 1, a 2, a 3, a 4, a 5, and a 6. Yeah. I think we talked about this before, possibly a little bit. You're going to get like 2 1s, a 3, and 3 5s. And randomness tends to be clumpy. Yeah. And so you're always going to see these things, and then
whoa, this dice rolls 5 so much.
Yeah. Or you're going to so you're going to see like all these Jews, and you're thinking, wow, Jews are like, well, actually Jews are because of their culture, they are going to be in higher positions a lot of the time. But you're going to see this thing, and you're going to... It's kind of scary how you're like, have a notepad and you're staring at me like...
Sorry. Just giving you practice for interviews in the future. Yeah. Be careful with your speech.
Do I have to be, though? Like...
You shouldn't have to be.
Like, what am I saying that's in any means...
Nothing. I know.
Yeah, like in the slightest bit, like, wrong. Like, it's like...
Well, then you can have complete confidence and you shouldn't be afraid.
Yeah, I just am aware of the world. Like, I don't have to necessarily fear it, but I can be aware of the culture that arises from a world of fear.
Even if I don't feel fear, I can be aware that others feel fear and react accordingly to their fear.
Or I can react in a way that would show that I am aware of I have knowledge of their fear.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even though...
Ha! Meta safety. Meta safety net.
Well, no, the meta safety net would be that all words are just ideas that you're toying with, and that doesn't mean anything.
Fermi's paradox, which suggests otherwise.
So there.
Yeah, it's good. I don't know. Yeah, it's you're going to get clumps, and you're going to see patterns, and you're going to say that these kinds of people are
Some
luckier,
patterns are recurring.
Yeah, and these people are more beneficial, and there may be a baseline for them. But I'm going to say probably not a lot of them. You're going to have to give a pretty convincing evidence. Like even the Jews being successful, it could just be they've gone all around the world for some reason, and it's a hereditary culture / religion / race.
Yeah, I mean, but they've only been at it for what, 3,000 years?
I don't know. It's around a long time.
Yeah, but I mean, even 4,000 years. That's not much time.
Well, for humans it is.
Yeah, but I mean, really, it's...
Like in the grand scheme of humanity, like modern humans, that's just like half of modern human history almost. Like
yeah, but I mean,
10,000 years ish.
Give them another 5,000 years, see what they're like then.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's like China. China's been very consistent, and the Jews seem to have been. Like Jews have been as consistent as China, basically.
I don't know how I even use that quote out of context.
Jews have been as consistent as China.
Just get that audio clip.
It'll destroy you. I find like you. I don't know. It's really hard to say what if it's randomness or not. I guess. And even the not randomness, like saying that Jews are very tenacious, or like that could be because of randomness still.
Yeah.
Like
it could just be a really long stroke of randomness.
Yeah, or it could be that randomness creates a tenacious people. Yeah. Like if enough random chance happens to a group of people over and over again, they're not going to exist, or they're like if there was there's probably been hundreds or thousands of other groups of people that have had the same random stuff happen to them as the Jews, but they're not around anymore because they didn't have the tenacity, and so it basically it's like the puddle that says this dip I'm in is the exact same shape as myself. It's self-creating. Like you have. It was Douglas Adams actually broke it down. Like if you go into this sort of thing, you can say that things that keep happening. Yeah. Right. Because anything that is self-sustaining will keep self-sustaining. Everything else won't exist. The universe is just watching who can live longest. Like life has taken the pattern, that strategy for longest sustaining by replicating. Mountains have taken the strategy for sustenance by being really big. Yeah. Like iron and stuff has taken the strategy for being long sustaining by being really resilient. Yeah. And plastic as well, insanely resilient.
Yeah. So the ice is the shape of the rocket crab.
Don't know about that one.
I say it wrong. Let me try again. Ice is the shape of the crack he's in.
I don't know if that's really my point still. It could be.
Because the ice, like, the water gets into the crack, right? And it freezes. Yeah. And then, so the crack's bigger.
Also, it creates the crack.
Yeah, and the crack's bigger, so it collects more water, and that freezes, and the crack gets bigger and collects more water.
Yeah, that's a bit more autonomy than I'm saying. Like, that's just an agency almost in the ice, I feel. Whereas...
ice has agency.
Whereas mine is more a process which...
The puddle is its shape?
No, just a process which sustains itself will sustain itself.
Ah, yes.
Like, if someone's immortal, they will be immortal. Yeah. That's all I'm saying, basically. Ah. Anything that keeps happening, keeps happening.
That's stopped.
So that's Douglas Adams, he says anything that keeps happening, keeps happening. And then he actually condenses that even more, and he says, things that happen, happen. Yeah. And that's his unifying theory of the universe. And it actually, it works. Because it's basically evolution. Right, so how evolution works is all the animals that have survived to this day are the ones that made it. We don't see any of the rejects because they're all dead. That's true. Like I know. Like anything that didn't work is dead. And that's everything. Any planets that didn't work are gone. Anything that didn't work is gone because it can't exist. It has to exist to exist. And so the Jews could just be, they just exist because they exist, because if they didn't exist, they'd be gone. Like, it's another thing, like, you know, everyone who has, like, a lot of people say they find religion or the religion is reinforced because they survive this, like, freak accident. Like, this accident that was, like, nearly unsurvivable. They survive. And so they find God or something. But the only people that you can ask about how their experience was of surviving the freak accident is the one who survived. The ones who survived. You can't talk to the dead people and say if they found God. Well, weird.
You should be able to talk to the dead people.
Well, no, you can't, but it's just kind of funny because maybe they're more likely to have found God.
Oh.
But anyone who survives a car accident survived a car accident, so you shouldn't take their opinion on what it is like to survive a car accident because they have survivor bias.
Yeah, you need to get equal spread of opinion.
Yeah, and like that's the thing. Like God, like the thing where like God looks after you, religion works, that sort of thing. It only works from a selfish perspective. Like God protects you until you die. You never, like you will never see God not protect you. Everyone else's death that isn't yours is just a lesson to you, or a way to bring your family closer together. Because you survived it all. Like, you're immortal in terms, so God is looking out for you. It's very, like, selfish almost.
Yeah, it's kind of self-perpetuating.
And God will be there protecting you until you die.
Yeah, it's his plan that you die anyways.
Well, that's what it's his plan that other people died.
Yeah.
To teach you a lesson, or maybe to benefit the world in a positive way. But you are immortal.
Yep.
Like, it's because...
Cool.
It's survivorship bias.
Lol.
Well, you're not immortal. I'm immortal.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah.
Cool, now I can use.
To end conversation during a podcast?
I mean, just in general. I don't know if it's a good tool.
No, it's terrible.
Okay, I won't use it.
I started with a complaint against people that are like dead air, like impossible to talk to. It's like trying to talk to a brick wall, and then you think you take that as, oh, there's a tool.
Well, I tried to interject, and you just keep on steamrolling, so. The only things I can do is go, and like try to add slightly or kill it.
Well, add on. No, you keep adding. I think you're adding.
Yeah,
I think you're adding.
I think I am.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's an interesting idea with the God thing. I've been paying attention. God perpetuating baboons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm giving you your time to talk. Go on.
Well, I don't feel like I have anything to add to talk right now.
All right. Well, God.
Actually, I did have another thing, which left. I had another idea though, which is we're talking about the perpetuating of animals, and this is a little bit harsh. We're talking about like all the animals are dead. Do you think pandas are still around because they're cute?
Well, yeah, probably. There's this concept in environmentalism called charismatic macrofauna, which is like good-looking animals that are big, basically. Like polar bears. We're like, the polar bears are going extinct, and it's not like tree frogs or something.
Yeah, well...
Or even tree frogs are cute compared to like, oh, this
sea slug.
This sea slug's going extinct. Oh no.
Well, why I'm saying that is pandas...
If the giant sea slug was going extinct, then we'd have an issue.
Pandas suck.
I don't know, they're kind of cute.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying, kind of cute. But like, if you look at pandas from like what they need, the food they need, the quantities they need, like their requirements, pandas suck. Like,
well, they don't do that because they're still around.
Yeah, but so I'm saying like, are they still around because they don't suck in the fact they're cute?
Yeah,
like they by accident they evolved so that humans would think, oh, let's keep these things around.
Yeah, exactly. Like in an Earth where you need oxygen to survive. If you can't breathe oxygen, then you're dead. You're dead. And in a world where humans control whether you live or die, you better be cute or you're dead. Like, it's the same thing. It's an adaptive trait. Well, or the thing, traits aren't adaptive though; they're random chance.
Yeah,
it's kind of misleading.
Yeah, but so that's like polar bears and pandas,
probably, unless Lamarck was right. And
well, Lamarck kind of is.
Not really, but
so people disagree with you.
Yeah, but they'd be wrong because I speak with the full authority of having read a book by Richard Dawkins. And he's a biologist, so
he's a biologist.
Yeah.
Ooh, so it's traditional.
It was 2006. This book, Science, was updated, and
Science.
They were up against Lamarck.
Why? All right. So here's a question. So 2016, you said, or
yeah.
So people have been arguing against Lamarck constantly.
Yeah, since Lamarck.
Yeah, since Lamarck, and they keep feeling like they need to argue against him.
Yeah, because it's a really fun idea.
Yeah.
And so you have to keep crushing people's hopes because they'll keep being hopeful because they're like, oh, wait, I think we found a thing that suggests that actually it's like, no, actually it wasn't, you loser.
So people keep trying so it's like physics, perpetual energy, where people are like, oh, I think I found something in perpetual energy. And
no, because there is no perpetual energy. Whereas in this case... See, I don't know why people are obsessed with perpetual energy. Because, here, I'll get to that in a second. But, like, because the thing about biology is not set in stone.
Yeah.
Whereas physics is mathematically based. So,
yeah.
So, not all of physics is, like, the string theory and all that, like, that's just a theory. But, or it's not even a theory, I think, technically. It's just a hypothesis. I think. Don't really. That's all I'll say on that. But, Lamarck...
I'll really get in with these misquotes about physics, however you mean.
But yeah, like Lamarckian stuff is that's like there's always potential that Darwinism is totally wrong, basically, until we really understand it, which may never happen. But yeah, what was I going to talk about? Oh yeah, like people are obsessed with perpetual motion and for energy or something, like infinite energy or something. But they don't. It's kind of dumb because like the sun exists, like
You don't need it. You got a giant ball of basic infinite energy. It's got to be infinite for you.
yeah, like
It's good enough.
We don't need to invent infinite energy devices because we have essentially infinite ones in the universe. There's even like the thing.
We can create a sun on Earth. It'll be a small one. We can make that too.
You can even do like the old. I'm sure there's probably a way in the future that we'll be able. Like energy isn't a problem. It's a very temporary problem. We've been obsessed with for the last like 200 years.
Yeah.
And it's really not going to be a problem in the future.
Like, what was the problem we were obsessed with before that for several thousand years? Trying to get food efficiently, farming, trying to make farming better.
That and like just labor, like trying to get enough labor. That was huge. And like enough resources to do stuff.
Workforce, trying to have things that can actually build stuff for us, move things easily, transportation.
Yeah, and I mean that's still an issue. Like getting like there's always been more people than the work, but it's still been like well, not always, but most of the time. Like Black Death, suddenly the workers were quite valuable. But you're like you don't like you know how you can have energy just appear randomly, but then it gets paid back. Like how black holes can create a particle and then they create an antiparticle and then eventually they recombine down the road. So I have a theory that you can probably create like energy and negative energy and then just shunt all the negative energy someplace in the universe you don't want. And then once the energy is used up, you could like chuck it back into the energy area and like why not really? Like I really don't think perpetual motion is the issue we need to.
That doesn't sound safe. What you're saying. That sounds incredibly dangerous.
Like the universe does it all the time, so I'm saying.
Yeah, and the universe has black holes.
Yeah, and like why not have our own? Like
because they're
and maybe like negative energy is useful too. Like you know how every time you want to eat a granola bar, you have to throw away a wrapper. You can use those wrappers for something. So like I'm pretty sure that's how energy works as well.
Yes, it is.
Like if matter and energy can't be destroyed, then you aren't actually ever getting rid of anything, right?
That is correct. The energy used to move something
you're
is
just,
the movement, and then it's moved. That's where the energy is. The energy's in that movement.
The only thing that's really happening is you're slowly converting the entire universe into energy.
Yes, and then once it's pure energy, it goes bang.
It would have to like condense, right? I think. Yeah. I don't know.
Well, it's pure energy, and then.
Well, you hope it goes bang.
Yeah.
They don't. Well,
you hope it doesn't go like sound effect of balloon slowly.
No, it just goes like this.
Yeah,
it's just done. I mean, that'd be disappointing.
Yeah, that's the cold.
Or it could just end in like an instant when the two 5-dimensional universes that are touching each other like separate.
Yep,
it's gone. Yeah. Wouldn't that be weird?
Yeah, it would be. I don't know. I think we should stop doing endings because we have end music, and I like the end music. And so, like, if we do the endings where it stops, and we've been doing a lot of them because we talk about stupid metaphysics and physics and metaphysical concepts, and then we end on those.
How else are we supposed to end?
Oh no.
Well, I think I had a perfect sandwich today.
You are looking at the finger, not the moon.
The perfect quote. I don't know if we'll put that name there. Yeah, so we're just gonna do this record this extra little bit so I can make a dumb pun. That's the plan.
Yeah.
So you know how like there's those movie monsters like Frankenstein and like Mummy and
Godzilla.
Yeah.
Or is that too big? Are you thinking?
No, I'm just thinking of like movie monsters. Like Frankenstein's a
Wolfman.
Classic monster. The Wolfman's a classic monster.
Yeah.
Like Frankenstein's a classic monster. Frankenstein's a classic monster.
But it's Frankenstein's monster. That's the monster.
Yeah, but who was the real monster? Like the one who was just brought to life in a world that he had no control over and kicked out into the wild after someone tried to kill him? Or the person that stole bodies and unknowingly brought someone to life? I think Frankenstein is the monster. You see? This is good.
Bye.